morning and welcome to First Sip by Draft for Upside. I am Brewery Mark. With me is Chris Emmerich, and on the road in Grand Rapids is Danger Cole.
Hey guys, it's starting already, my friends. The Danger Life begins at 11:15 a.m. today.
Oh yeah, what's happening?
So as you know, today is the Beer Fest Eve of the Winter Beer Fest in Grand Rapids, Michigan, put on by the Brewers Guild. And so I'm out here in Grand Rapids. I've got a tap event going on right now. This lovely bar called Logan's Alley in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Opens at 7 a.m. every day. So this tap takeover started at 7 a.m., but I just got here now. I'm not that big of a glutton for punishment. And but I just dove right in. I figured, screw it, man. It's Beer Fest weekend. So they've got 10 of our beers on tap, and I had them pour me one of my favorites. So if anybody knows much about Witch's Hat, if people listening don't know, I'm the sales director for Witch's Hat, so my job is very fun to drive around, drink beer with people, get paid. I like it. I mean, there's a little bit more to that, but that's basically what it breaks down to. But today I am having a 12%, nay, 13% barrel-aged Belgian quad that we age with figs, and appropriately named Figgy Smalls. And it's a fabulous beer. And this one's a tribute, of course, to the notorious B.I.G. And it is just one of my favorite beers. And this particular one was aged in cognac barrels because, you know, Courvoisier, and why not?
Of course.
Yeah, man. So it's fantastic. I'll send a picture out to the chat room here. But the Beer Fest is at Fifth Third Ballpark in Comstock Park, Michigan, just north of Grand Rapids, and it's where the West Michigan Whitecaps play. They are a low A affiliate of the Tigers. You know any good players that came out of the Whitecaps, Chris?
No, I don't. Tell me.
I will tell you. The Whitecaps Hall of Fame. The inaugural class of 2009 included Francisco Cordero. Do you remember Francisco Cordero?
Yeah, just slightly.
Right. I don't know if anybody in the chat room remembers Francisco Cordero, but he was a relief pitcher. One season with the Whitecaps, dude had 67 strikeouts and an ERA of 1 in 54 innings pitched, had 35 saves, and had a scoreless streak of 23 in the third innings. That was a good year. It's a good year for him. But of that inaugural class, Brandon Inge was in that class. The next year, they added Joel Zamaya, Zoom Zamaya, of course. I actually watched him play here with Ramon Santiago, who was in the next year's Hall of Fame class for them. Let's see, another guy you would know, Fernando Rodney, Cameron Maben, which I actually watched the whole season of him play here when I last lived in Grand Rapids. Alex Avila came through there. Nick Castellanos came through there. So it truly has been a great farm system for some names that we all know and love.
Very good. So, have you started drinking yet?
Oh, fuck yeah, I started drinking, man. Yeah, baby. Come on. Can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning. This is First Sip, Mark.
It is. I'm still working my Ultra Sunrise Monster myself.
I like it. Hey, throw a little shot of vodka in there, man. That's good. It's cool. So,
I think we lost Danger.
Sorry, somebody tried to call me. It cuts me off. So somebody tries to call me. It cuts off the Skype feed. I hate that. But anyways, I'm sorry I couldn't make it last night. I heard you had an entertaining show, so I'm going to have to go back and listen. And I woke up this morning to about 30 messages between you and Chris on our group chat about your hockey night. So was it an entertaining night, I take it?
Chris, you want to take it?
It's all right. Mark's just pretty excited because, there were a couple days where I just wiped the floor with him, and he's starting to make a comeback. It was 3 days in a row. I think he was questioning his process, everything. I'm, just destroying him here and there. And, he got a little bit of revenge, edged out a less than 1 point victory 2 nights ago, and absolutely destroyed me yesterday because he was a chalk donkey and went with Larkin and Mantha, and I was the biggest fish in the world and tried to fade him on a 4-game slate. Did not work well for me. So, kudos to him. We're at 3-2. Probably going to go for tonight, and I'm going to try and wrap up this 7-game series in 6. I don't want it to go to sleep.
And it was a good night for my Red Wings overall. They lost in overtime, but they were down 4-1 and came all the way back in the third to tie it up to take it to overtime. So it was exciting.
It's amazing because, like I was saying, I have no problem eating the Tampa Bay Lightning chalk and Kucherov and playing him all the time. But for some reason, I drew the line on Dylan Larkin, who I used to play all the time. Stupid. I don't get it. And I will, give you a little preview here. Probably going to recommend Kucherov tonight, guys. But anyway, I think we're going to start with golf, right?
Yeah, let's do some PGA.
You got it, man. I mean, the World Golf Classic doesn't kick off for another 38 minutes here. I know Adam did a good piece last night, which, of course, I didn't listen to, but I hear it was really good. But he sent me, because he couldn't make it to the show today, he sent me a couple of last-minute fades and pivot plays. So what he's got here is he's got fades at Ty Hatton at 7.3. He says, I'm seeing 100% recommendation on FanShare Sports for Hatton, and this is the most exclusively based on course history. His approach game, most heavily correlated to success here in 17-18, has been abysmal the last two events in the U.S., and he's relied heavily on his around-the-green game to post mediocre finishes. I'm staying away from Hatton this week. Did either of you had any Ty Hatton in your lineups?
I did not.
Nope.
All right, good. So that's off the board. Tommy Fleetwood, 8.2K. Tommy typically looks good in the stat models as he is a great ball striker. This is also a course history play as he finished second in his first go-around here and is one of 7 players to finish top 15 both years. As high as ownership will be, I am not willing to be overweight on him to gain leverage on the field. I'll happily pivot to a couple of other players in his range as the low to mid 8Ks range is deep. Any Tommy Fleetwood love? I know he broke your heart the last week or so.
Yeah, and I refuse to play him ever again.
I like it. His last fade is Emilio Grillo at 6.9K. Grillo is a great ball striker, and because of this, he always looks great statistically. I've been waiting for him to take the next step in his career, and something just seems to be missing. I'm seeing Grillo as a top 3 highest ownership guy this week, and I'm fading the crap out of him. This will probably backfire. Anytime a sub 7K guy is going to be highly owned, I gladly pivot away from him. Any Grillo love from you two?
No, we decided that Kevin Na, $100 less, was the obvious lock and load.
Yeah, I have a sprinkling. So I actually put in about 15 lineups this week. And I have Grillo in 2.
Well, he says the Grillo pivot, if you've got 2 extra $100, is Ches the Chesticle Ravi. I think he's trying to make that nickname stick. I like that.
I have some Ches. I do have some Ches.
I like it. He says Ches is going to be way overlooked this week for a course that favors accuracy, wedges, and short irons and good putting on Poa annua greens. I'm seeing nothing about him written or talked up. I'm jumping on and enjoying the low ownership. So sounds like he wants that pivot to Ches, which sounds like you already are planning on that.
Yep, and as Chris said, we discussed it last night. Ches was on there, and all 3 of us are really like Kevin Na at 6,900 for this tournament.
Fair enough. So, yes, you can also pivot directly from Grillo to Kevin Na. His high-end pivot at 83K is Webb Simpson. He loves Webb as a pivot play from Tommy this week. The course there should really suit him well, and he isn't a bomber and tends to gain a lot of strokes on approach to the green. We think he will go overlooked as he's only played here one of the last 2 years and didn't have a great finish. I'm happy to load up on Webb at a course that favors accuracy and dialed-in short to mid irons. What do you think of Webb?
Adam's spot on with his analysis of it. I have him in just one lineup just because I felt there are a few better plays out there. But yeah, he's going to go underlooked, and so it's a great contrarian play to all these high end guys. What do you think, Chris?
Man.
I'm just pushing buttons. I don't know what's going on with these guys. So hopefully, my plays and Kevin Na wins, and that's really where I'm at. And I had a dream yesterday to drop Bryson. He is in one of my lineups, but I had 100% exposure. I now have 50% exposure. I'm going to listen to my dreams, even though they steered me wrong during NFL season. But maybe they know a little bit more about golf.
And let's see here. And Adam White's last pivot is low end. If you're looking for that low end hit, he's got a 6.6K Danny Willett. Danny has been trending in the right direction with his game, and I'm jumping on the former Masters champ before he has an elite finish in the U.S. He finished tied for 25th at the Farmers, tied for 33 at Riviera. Those courses really don't favor his game as he is not a long hitter. With the golf club playing effectively 6,700 yards with altitude factored in, this seems like a place his game will fit well. I love him as a pivot play from Grillo, who will likely be 8 times to 10 times higher owned. Willett was also my tipsy pick, and even now being sober, he feels good about it. You guys tied one on last night without me, didn't you?
Yes, we did. It was fun.
I love it. Well, that's Adam's update for PGA. If anybody has that last-minute fix and pivot they want to move in on, there it was.
Yeah, I do have some Danny Willett in there, and also I'm really high on the Barn Rat this week. Kiradesh, I don't know how you say it, Alpha Barn Rat.
Mm-hmm.
And my tipsy pick was Shugo Imahira at 6,100. He's a Japanese tour guy, and he just fits this course like a glove.
Man, I can't wait for baseball season where all we have to do is pronounce Spanish last names and not all these crazy things in hockey and basketball and golf and it's Cruz. I like that. I like Smith. It's just easy, rolls off my tongue pretty good. I can't roll my R, but hey, it's easier than this Atka Barn Rat or Antetokounmpo or some of these hockey Eastern Bloc names. Jeez.
Well, that's the fun of it, though.
Oh man, I love the try to pronounce the player game. It's one of my favorites.
Plus, you can make more fun of these weird names. So it's.
That's right. All right. So one of the things that I enjoy doing, as you guys know, is trying to put a theme team together. So we were talking earlier before we jumped on that you guys were talking about the all douchebag team for golf last night.
Yes, sir. If you want to put it together, we can do it right now. We can give you the plays.
All right. Well, we got a few minutes before we should start talking hockey, so let's open up a single entry GPP and put the all douchebag team to the test.
Let us know when you're ready.
All right, pulling it up now. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, forget that. I'm going to put it in our lineup. Come on. I'm going to put the money in our league. That sounds more fun. There we go. All right, I'm ready. Hit me up. So, number 1 on the list, let me guess here. Phil Mickelson.
No.
Honestly, we didn't discuss him.
No. All right. Well, then let me go to Sergio Garcia.
Yes.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to start with Sergio Garcia.
The obvious number 1 to me is Kuchar.
Cooch. Where is he on this list?
7-7.
Why is he so low? Is he such a douchebag? Nobody's betting on him, so they got to drop the price down?
I mean, I like him as a play, to be honest. The price,
Absolutely.
everything. So.
I mean, he's 7 for 7 in cuts and 3 top 10s. You're not going to take him at 77? You got it, right?
Well, there's no cuts this week, so.
Right? But I'm just saying, his form's been fantastic this year. The price dump has got to just because he's such a douche. Nobody's betting on him. Yeah. I like it. All right, so I got an 8,000 guy, I got a 7.7 guy, and my average remaining player for my 4 next guys is still $8,575. So the douchebag team is a nice medium range group of people so far. So what else we got?
You got to go get Patrick Reed.
All right. So why is Patrick Reed a douche?
There's some issues with his parents and other stuff. He's just over. I mean, take a look at the picture too. I mean, it just
right. Okay, I see that. I can see that. All right. Well, I understood Garcia and Kuchar. I get where you're coming from Reed. All right, who we got next?
I'm trying to remember.
Well, we got $8,766 remaining, so we could put Phil Mickelson at $9K in there.
Yeah, I mean, we did discuss him very briefly towards the end as somebody that could fit into that lineup. He wasn't one of the prominent people that we discussed, but if that's how you feel, go ahead, put him in.
I mean, I think he's pretty much universally reviled as a douchebag, so I think he fits the mold.
Did you
All
see
right.
the calf gate?
No, I did not.
Oh yeah, I saw those pictures. He's got some amazing caps, man.
I love it. All right, so I don't really know anything about any of these other guys. I don't. None of these guys are coming out as a douchebag to me. So I think we're just gonna have to go their player profile picture on DraftKings, right?
Yeah, we could. If
So
we had
why don't you scroll down and do me a favor? Go down to 7K and look at Tom Lewis and tell me that douchebag does not stick out.
pull her up. He looks like a good guy, but he's from
No,
England, so
really?
let's go ahead and do. Yeah, I mean, he kind of looks like Tom Brady a little bit when you think about it.
Well, that's perfect. Excellent. That makes me happy.
Throw him in there. Go ahead.
All right, Tom Lewis, you're in there, buddy. All right, we got $10,000 left for our final douchebag player. So that puts us at Brian DeChambeau and below. So I could put Woods in there. I mean, Woods and Phil are both magnificent douchebags.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's put Tiger Woods there.
I like it. So the WGC Mexico all douchebag team: Sergio Garcia, Matt Kuchar, Patrick Reed, Phil Mickelson, Tom Lewis, and Tiger Woods. I feel like that's a lineup that our buddy in the chat room that's usually there, Tony Sincata, who's a stand-up comedian as well, would put his stamp of approval on.
Excellent. Well, good luck. Just not better luck than me.
Right? Well, there's my $3, fellas. It's in.
It's not a bad lineup overall, though. It's all douchebags, but it's some good golfers.
Right? A douchebag does not necessarily rule you out as not being talented. Usually the more talented people are, the bigger douches they are. So that's not a bad strategy. Maybe we should approach this every week.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I'm saying. So, all right, that's awesome. I'll screenshot that, send it to Adam. He'll get a good laugh, and we can move on to hockey.
Hockey. All right. How'd you end up doing last night, Chris?
About negative 50 ROI, but I mean, for a good portion of the night, it was a stone zero. But I did have Bergeron and Marchand from Boston. I went ahead and played them and didn't really get the production out of them. But I will tell you that my value picks, Rasmus Anderson and Ben Chariot, did very, very good for their salaries. I was very hurt when I saw that they weren't in your lineup, and they made you pay. It would have got you an extra 3 or 4 points.
Excellent. Yeah, I broke even basically. I think I lost 50 cents.
See, those points could have put some money in the bank for you.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, as we discussed earlier on the show, I did go with the chalk. Everybody was high on that Detroit-Chicago game, as was I. 4-game slate, so I made sure and got Larkin and Mantha in a lineup with Taves and Kane, and it paid off for me.
Yeah, it looked rough at one point. Like Larkin looked like he was going to pay off. He scored early and was getting just massive shots on net. But beyond that, Detroit wasn't doing much. Then they came in with that flurry right there and scored 3 goals, boom, 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 and that was when I knew my night was over. Especially because all the Chicago production was coming from just guys that I didn't have. So it was an early night for me, despite being able to kind of claw my way back in a couple of the head-to-heads.
Yeah, and the lineup I created specifically for our matchup. It's the only place I played it, and it ended up being my second best lineup at 46.7 points. I decided to go for a complete stars and scrubs lineup. I actually took the top player on every team and put him into a lineup, and then played bare minimum defenseman. And it worked out all right.
Nice. Well, who do you got for today? We've got 11 games for today, so we have some good matchups, some bad matchups, some matchups that we're going to ignore, but there's a lot of players out there. There's a lot to wade through. I got about 5 lines that I'd like to talk about, and I got 4 goalies, but I'm going to let you, as the reigning champion, the winner of yesterday, I'm going to let you kick it off.
Well, okay, so let's kick it off with goalie then. The 2 places I'm looking to target goalies today is going to be Tampa Bay and Nashville. They have the best odds coming out of Vegas. Tampa Bay at home with Buffalo coming in should be a landslide. LA is just playing crappy. They're going to Nashville. So I see those as your best goalie plays tonight. And I know you you had one goalie play that you were really high on.
Yeah, so I agree. Whoever's playing out of Tampa, I think, is a great option. I prefer Vasilevsky, of course. He's just been playing out of his mind recently. I do like Pekka Rinne. I like Lerner out of for the Islanders and Bennington for the Blues. Those are my four guys that I'm looking at when we look at the anticipated Corsi expected goals. Those are going to be the goalies facing off against the teams with the lowest expected goals. So you got a 2.7 from LA, 2.5 from Edmonton and Buffalo, and then a 2.3 from Dallas. So that's what I'm looking at. I particularly like the Islanders a little bit more sneaky as a GPP option. If we get some type of news that he's going to be out, I kind of bumped that up, but I suspect that 2.5 that they have kind of reflects that and the uncertainty with him tonight.
Yeah, so for people listening out there, when we talk about these goalies, always check the goalies before the puck drops. This time of day, most of these sites will show you goalies who are projected to start, but based on the morning skates and the warm-ups, that could change. It burned me a couple of times this week. So,
well, and certainly with the Islanders, I think is a questionable position because we don't. They're not going to have a morning skate today. They played yesterday, so unless we get word early, we probably won't know until around 8:20, 8:30 who the goalie is going to be. So that's going to be after lock. So you have to have some pivots. Like I said, it's a GPP high risk. If we go ahead and take a look at where he is priced right now, I don't think it's that much. So you can probably pivot somewhere else. And you know what? I believe they have their start at 78. So I imagine even if they had the backup play that he'd be 78 or less, and you could just pivot to him if that need be the case.
all right. So, looking at the schedule here, the games I am most excited about: Carolina at Florida. That's a toss-up game, a high line. I can see that game just shooting out. Ottawa, New Jersey is really interesting. They're both playing really good right now, putting a lot of pucks on the net. I always love San Jose, but they're traveling all the way to Pittsburgh. I'll probably fade that game. Ooh, Washington, Toronto is going to be fun. But Toronto's not scoring a lot right now. Washington is. So that's going to be an interesting game to watch. Ovechkin's definitely in play. Toronto's back home. They just came off of a 3-game road trip. So it might be time to look at Austin Matthews bounce back. Tampa, of course, I mean, they should landslide that game. It's a matter of, do you play Kucherov or do you play Stamkos? Or which line do you go for? Yeah, I think those are my favorite games for tonight. There's a few others on here, but I think I'm going to be targeting a lot of that Carolina, Florida, Ottawa, New Jersey.
Yeah, I agree with you for the most part here. The Ottawa or the Carolina Florida game doesn't really do it for me as much. But I am looking at the first or second line for the Devils, the first or second line for Ottawa. So I love Jesper Bratt. They Senators have a hard time defending both of the wing positions, and so I certainly think you could even fade Colin White if you went with that second line. I know I did it the other night and it burned me, but I don't think that his production is something that he's going to burn me twice. But if he does, he does. I do like that New Jersey first line with Jesper Bratt. Hey, I'm all over the second line with Kucherov. I expect Point to be back and Gorday. And then I also like both of the center options, and you can stack it with the lines, or you can go individually for Toronto. Washington has given up the most center points fantasy-wise, not just for the season, but over the last 4 weeks. I think coming home is a good bounce-back time for both Tavares and Matthews, or even if you want to go all the way down to Kadari if he plays. I think any one of those lines would be in play, and that's kind of where I'm going to centralize my exposure. I certainly don't hate the Florida play because they've been playing well, but that I'm just keeping it where it is and keeping it simple and going with the guys that have produced for me this week and kind of fading the ones that didn't.
Yeah, which is a good strategy, and I like your breakdown the Toronto there. It is a game where I can see Toronto with a major bounce back, especially against the bad defense Washington has.
Well, and I don't mind the San Jose play either. I know that they're traveling. I'd have to look at how they do on East Coast games on the first game of a road trip. But Pittsburgh's been bad defensively for the year, and they've been really bad for the month. They're right up there with the Ottawa and New Jersey. The expected goals for San Jose is 3.5. Tampa's the only one that has more at 3.6, and I think the fantasy point expectation from San Jose is higher than anyone else at 47.7 with an expected Corsi of 48.9, trailing only Tampa and Carolina. So, and Montreal. So, hey, I don't hate it. I understand your reasoning. I just have to dig a little deeper into it, and that's kind of like a second or third type of situation for me.
Yeah, and it's a good pivot. I think a lot of people will do the same analysis I just did, which is they have to go across the coast. They're playing Pittsburgh. Yeah, Pittsburgh's been playing bad defensively, but they've been putting up a lot of goals. Actually, it's a 6.5 over under. Actually, a couple of books have it at 7. So actually, that's the game Vegas says is going to have the most goals. So very interesting. Maybe I'll throw in that dual San Jose defense lineup again.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I'm rating my top 4 teams on goals expected, San Jose and Pittsburgh are 2 and 4. If I'm going to, fantasy points expected, they're both in. They're 1 and 5. Corsi 4 expected. You're looking at 4 and yeah. 4 and something really bad. So San Jose, by far, the metrics are favoring them. But obviously Pittsburgh's at home, and you can go with the value on the second line, whether it's Austin Reeves, Bukestad, any of those guys are going to provide you a low salary guy with high ceilings. So, like I said, there's a lot of options. You have to wade through it. There's certain spots that look better than others, but if you have a feeling about a different team or a different situation, stack up the line. You're going to need the correlation tonight because it's going to be a high-scoring night. There's 11 games. You really can't miss a spot. You have to kind of go perfect and nail everything if you're going to take down a GPP. That being said, in cash, in head-to-heads, I think nights like these can be very easy because there are so many options and people are going to make a lot of mistakes. And that's why I kind of stick with like the Kucherovs and the points and guys that are going to be pretty consistent and let my opponents make mistakes.
Absolutely. Danger, you got any hockey questions out there?
I truly don't. I'm not going to lie. I truly, truly don't. But I will take this moment to let everybody know you can find us at www.draftforupside.com, spelled draft like draft beer, DRAUGHT, which I put in the chat room, which if you're listening to this on demand, the chat room is live while we're live on the air on the Legend Sports Network, which can be found at this moment at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com. And click on the Listen Live button. There's a great chat room. You can interact with us and the show and a great amount of people that hang out with us on a daily and nightly basis. You can find us every Monday through Friday from 11:30 to noon. And you can find us every Wednesday night for our extended show from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And we are, of course, sponsored by I'mABeerHound.com.
All right.
And don't forget to like our Facebook page. Follow our Twitter. Chris Emmerich at Nemesis Trek as well. So, go ahead and follow those social medias. We drop some of our articles. We let you know about the shows, and it's a fantastic time. Hey, Danger, yesterday we did talk about, ballpark factors in baseball and how every park's different. Can you imagine if you went to a hockey arena and every hockey arena was just a little bit different, a little bit bigger in this area, a little bit longer somewhere else? It'd be pretty interesting, I think.
It would be very interesting. I think that's one of the fun things I like about baseball. I wish that they would standardize all the rules. I want to see the universal DH. I think that's coming. But I really enjoy that every park is a little different, and that's so much fun for DFS.
Sure. We spent some time on that yesterday for sure. We talked about weather factors and a couple other things that a really basic tenets in putting together a DFS lineup and have some merit carry over into season long. But we're running a little short on time, and we do have NBA to talk about today. Mark, did you have any closing thoughts about the NHL?
No, like I said, I'm going to be high on. You know what? Our analysis changed my mind. I'm probably going to roll into that San Jose Pittsburgh game. Do you have any major fades or plays that you're going to do?
No, I really don't have any major fades per se. I think you can find value in some of these lineups. I guess the one team that I don't have any interest in is Dallas. I mean, I know they're at home, but they're going against the Blues, and until the Blues cool off, I'm not really playing anybody against them.
Yeah, I'm totally shocked that Dallas is favored in that game.
Yeah, hey, I don't think Vegas is always the sharpest on the NHL. I don't think that they have the same type of money coming in, and the statistics are a little different. But where they really are sharp right now is going to be the NBA, and the NBA returns after its All-Star hiatus. We've got a couple really, really good games, and there's some really nice value out there. The biggest thing is that some of these teams are going to be in a situation where the rotations are very, very unclear. So, we have a team in the Kings who is going to be without Iman Shumpert for 2 games, which, 2 weeks ago would have been an auto lock for Bogdanovich, would have upgraded Fox, would have been huge for Heald, and I like each one of those guys very much tonight. But they've incorporated Harrison Barnes into that lineup, and so he's going to get some minutes. And then we also have to think about Alec Burks, one of my favorite guys of all time, won me a GPP. He hasn't been playing much, and I'm not playing him here. I'm just worried about some of the minutes in the rotation that he's going to get in that lineup. But all the other Kings backcourt guys are way too cheap. They are playing Golden State. They are a quick team. So, hey, I like the Kings. I like them in the order of I would go Heald, Bogdanovich, and then Fox. Let's see. Talked about some guys yesterday. Colin Sexton, I still like him. Devin Booker, I almost feel like he's a lock. If we're going to talk about a couple guys that are on the cheap, Kelly Olynyk and Bam Adebayo are both under 4,000 on DraftKings, and both have 30-point upside. The only question that we have with this Miami Heat lineup is Derek Jones Jr. going to be back? How is that going to affect the rotation? Who's going to lose minutes? And it's probably going to be Olynyk. So if I had to pick one of the two of those, it's going to be Bam Adebayo. The other really unclear situation that we have is going to be in Philadelphia, where Joel Embiid is going to be resting because his knee hurts. No structural damage from an MRI, but they're going to be precautionary. This would normally mean fire up Butler, fire up Simmons, but now we've got Tobias Harris there taking some of the minutes, taking some of the usage. Don't really particularly like his price with the uncertainty, but I don't mind him as a GPP play. I like Butler. I like Simmons. I think they're both very, very playable in cash GPP. Tobias is going to be GPP only. And then Boban should get somewhere between, 15, hopefully 20, 25 minutes. And if that's the case, fire up the Boban train in cash because everybody's going to be on it. Going a little further. Love Ed Davis tonight. Brooklyn's going to be playing Portland. Do you know where Ed Davis used to play?
I don't know.
Portland, I guess.
He used to play Portland, yeah. There you go, Dan. I read your mind and knew what you were going to say. I saw it.
But I still don't understand where to find my supersonic stats.
Well, you just keep looking, and I'll keep going through this, and we'll talk about it offline. But
all right, sounds good.
Ed Davis is in a revenge narrative game. Love it. He's 3,700. Kind of an inside joke that only I know. So we'll just kind of go from there. But the other guy that I think will be pretty popular from Brooklyn because of his 3-point shooting win will be Joe Harris. Joe Harris is something like 4,300, 4,200. Guy consistently gets over 30 minutes. He's about a minute per point fantasy guy, so he should be in the range of 25 to 30 points, and that's going to get you 6-7x. I love Joe Harris tonight, and I think a lot of people are going to as well. So kind of monitor his his ownership, because that's the only thing that concerns me. Another guy that's way too cheap is Malcolm Brogdon at 5,000. This is a guy that pretty consistently can put up 25 fantasy points, sometimes gets you 30. He's not a guy that I'm really filling into a GPP lineup first. If he kind of fits in at the end, I'm okay with it. But I think he's certainly a good option in cash. So those are some of the guys that are mispriced that I think will have some ownership one way or the other. But that's kind of where I'm starting to look at my lineup and then filling out any extra slots. Now, a couple other guys. In the game with Portland and Brooklyn, we always like to pick on the Brooklyn front court. So Yusuf Nurkic, who has not played well in his last couple of games, is a GPP option for me. If I'm looking at the big studs, I like Giannis over Harden, but I like both of them. On the other side of that Brooklyn game, Jared Allen has been playing really well. I don't mind putting him into my center slot. I love Damian Lillard in that game as well. And as a matter of fact, I like Alfred Aminu. I could get behind a whole game stack there and be very, very okay with the construction of it. The other one is, Bridges and Jackson in Phoenix against Cleveland. Both seem a little bit cheaper than they should be. TJ Warren's not going to be back, so I think you're going to see them continue to have extra usage than what they would normally have. So both are certainly options as well. Jordan Clarkston's been on fire. I think his price is pretty fair given his ceiling, given his floor. He's not necessarily a guy that I'm starting my lineup with, kind of like Malcolm Brogdon. But if I put together my lineup and then I see that I have 5,700 left and I need a guard, I would feel just fine plugging in Jordan Clarkson there. And then also another guy that's just way too cheap, partially because he hasn't been producing, is Willie Cauley-Stein. I think he's at like 4,900, if I'm not mistaken. I know that the salary starts with a 4. I just don't have it pulled up, but his salary should never start with a 4. This guy's got 40-point upside, so certainly a GPP option just because he has shown a little bit of volatility. He has shown a pretty low floor, but he is a guy that can produce. And at that salary, if you have him in there, it's going to be low ownership. If he goes off for 40, makes your life a lot easier the rest of the way.
Nice.
That's what I got. Hey, and you know what? I was 5-0 going in to the All-Star break in terms of picks with AAF and NBA. So let's get back on the NBA train. Let's see who we like tonight. We are going... You know what? We're going to go Phoenix and Cleveland. We're going to go over 220. And that's going to be my pick of the day. 220 and a half. So 221 or bust.
I like it. So the guys coming up next said we could hang on for a couple minutes because they're always going to be running late. So I'm not... Let's see. My Thursday schedule actually doesn't say anything about a show right after us, but it appears to be DVD and a gentleman named David. So they'll be coming up next on LennyMelnickFantasySports.com. Later tonight, today we've got JJ Sports Talk at 2 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, Aloha Fantasy Baseball with Kevin Hastings. Later tonight at 7, you got Lenny and Andrea. After them at 8 o'clock, Baseball from the Desert with Ralph. And then we'll finish the night from 11 to midnight with Fantasy Fisticuffs Football Thursday with Dan and Dave.
Jam-packed lineup.
Always is, man. There's almost a show on 24/7 live on this channel. If it's not live, it's a nice replay. So please come check us out at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com.
Any final thoughts there, Danger, from the beer festival?
Well, we'll get into it tomorrow. The setup crew doesn't usually show up for our booth till like 1 o'clock, and I'll be in town early. We're going to be live tomorrow from 11 a.m. again. I'm going to take some nice pictures. We'll show this beautiful ballpark covered in snow, and we'll talk about a couple of hot button topics that's going around the Beer Fest world right now about the practice of paying for beer with tokens at Beer Fest that Michigan laws have. And there's been some drama in the last week, and we'll get into it tomorrow for a little bit before we start talking sports.
All right, that sounds like a plan. Chris, any final advice for anybody?
No, I will tell you that there's we talked about the whole Seth Yates debacle. There's a continuation to that. a tout site, DFI Insider, has offered to pay out the winners, hoping that it would give them some positive press. And instead, they have been the laughingstock of DFS Twitter. Seems like a nice gesture, but everybody just thinks it's kind of silly. So, hey, I don't know. DFS Twitter is something else. Let me tell you.
It is. It's crazy out there. I follow a whole bunch of DFS people on Twitter, and it's crazy. You can't keep up, and they just talk weird shit.
But it's always entertaining, from the lineup buying scandal with Peter Jennings the other day, where somebody was trying to say he was buying esports lineups, and man, it's just something else. Hey, if you're looking to something to do on your phone while you're listening to the Lenny Melnick Sports Network, go ahead and fire up Twitter and see what's going on DFS Twitter. It's always entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I have finished my 13% beer. I'm moving on to my 15% beer, and we'll see how the rest of the day hits me. So if I'm in the chat room typing backwards at some point today, you all know what happened.
All right. So join us tomorrow. We're going to jump on here at 11 instead of 11:30, and we're going to do a special show. Danger will be broadcasting live from Beer Fest. We'll have a lot of AAF talk going into the weekend, and of course hockey, NBA, and probably a little PGA. We'll review the first round. How's that sound to you guys?
Sounds like a plan. We got an hour to do it, so we'll make it happen.
All
All
right.
right, fantastic. See you fellas in the morning.
All right, so I'm Brewery Mark for Chris Emmerich and Danger Cole. We will see you tomorrow.